This caught everyone off guard, and I mean everyone, because today, a stunning development from inside Chase Bank has completely shaken the Dinar and Dong community. What started as quiet chatter in foreign currency departments has now turned into one of the biggest confirmations we've seen in years. Right now in 2025, new internal activity involving the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong is being reported at Chase Bank locations across the United States. And the timing of these updates has ignited a massive wave of speculation. Viewers, listen carefully because what I'm about to share is not only surprising, it changes the tone of everything we've been tracking this month. This video will explain what Chase Bank has reportedly confirmed, how it aligns with global banking movements, why the November window matters, and what it means for everyday holders of the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong. Stay with me until the very end, because there is a reason financial insiders are saying this is the moment everyone has been waiting for. The story begins with several Chase Bank customers reporting unusual updates appearing inside their currency inquiry screens, updates tied directly to the Iraqi dinar, IQD, and the Vietnamese dong VND. These weren't simple availability notes or outdated placeholders. According to these customers, Chase Bank representatives acknowledged that internal systems were receiving refreshed values, live rate placeholders, and status flags indicating that both currencies are now being closely monitored. For years, big banks hesitated to even acknowledge anything related to a revaluation process. They avoided public comments, refused speculation, and often deflected questions entirely. But this time, Chase Bank didn't deflect. Instead, staff members confirmed that new information about these currencies was circulating through company systems and that higher-level departments were actively watching them. For the dinar community, this is huge. Chase is one of the biggest banks in the United States. They don't make internal updates unless something significant is happening. The shock factor is real, and it has raised one major question. Why now? Now, here's where things get even more compelling. These internal Chase Bank updates come at the exact same time global banking systems, including those in the Middle East and Asia, have moved into synchronized digital upgrade phases for international currency compliance. Iraq, for example, has recently completed multiple steps that position its currency for international recognition. Modernized banking software, newly adopted global standards, cross-border settlement upgrades, and strengthened anti-corruption protocols have all been implemented across Iraqi financial institutions. This level of preparation is not random. It is exactly what a country does when it is preparing to adjust the value of its currency on an international stage. So when Chase Bank's internal system begins marking Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong activity at the same time, Iraq completes these worldwide requirements. It suggests alignment, the kind of alignment that normally precedes major public financial announcements. At the same time, whispers inside the foreign currency exchange departments of several USA banks have confirmed that staff members are being given new guidelines about how to communicate with customers inquiring about these currencies. In plain English, that means banks are preparing for an increase in questions. Institutions typically do not prepare customer communication scripts unless they know interest is about to spike. This raises the possibility that banks expect substantial public activity related to the dinar and the dong. And since Chase Bank is one of the largest retail banks with foreign currency divisions, their involvement carries serious weight. It suggests that the developments happening behind the scenes are no longer maybe someday. They are being prepared for right now. The timing matches the same November window that independent analysts have been projecting for months, making this one of the most credible information waves we've seen in years. A major shock for the community is how direct some Chase employees have been with their wording. Several of them stated that the Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong are showing more activity than usual, and some even acknowledged that the bank has been instructed to keep an eye on incoming changes. Historically, banks refuse to make comments like this, but the consistency of these accounts reveals something important. Large institutions may finally be receiving internal notifications tied to upcoming updates in foreign currency valuation notifications they can't ignore, even if they cannot publicly discuss details. For long-term currency holders, this is the clearest sign yet that something fundamental has shifted. Chase Bank is not a rumor mill. They are a highly regulated, tightly monitored institution that does not casually acknowledge system changes. If their screens are updating, there is a reason. The big question everyone has right now is simple. What does this mean for the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong? Let's break it down. Whenever a major bank updates internal software to monitor a specific currency, it usually means one of three things. Either the currency is about to be traded more widely, the bank is preparing to hold it in larger reserves, or the currency is expected to undergo a rate adjustment. Banks do not invest time and software resources on currencies that have no foreseeable changes ahead. Additionally, reports say that the timing aligns perfectly with new international settlement pathways that Iraq recently activated. These pathways allow the country to send and receive cross-border financial transactions more efficiently, which is essential for any nation. Preparing to adjust the value of its currency. All of this happening simultaneously and inside a major bank like Chase is too synchronized to be coincidence. Another key detail has caught the public's attention. Customers who asked about exchange timelines were told that November will be a very interesting month. That is a bold statement coming from a bank staff member. While banks cannot reveal confidential information, they also cannot fabricate hints without risk. When employees across multiple branches start using similar language, it indicates they've been briefed with the same talking points. This leads many to believe that Chase Bank expects increased currency-related traffic this month. And if they expect increased traffic, it means they expect an event or, at the very least, movement significant enough to draw wide public attention. Whether that event involves rate changes, new trading status, or expanded public exchange availability, the fact remains Chase Bank is signaling preparation. Now, let's talk about the Vietnamese dong and why Chase Bank monitoring it is such a big deal. The VND has been undervalued for decades, held down by regional pressures and long-term economic rebuilding. But Vietnam today is one of the fastest growing economies in Southeast Asia, with expanding trade routes, rising export strength, major manufacturing growth, and a rapidly modernizing financial system. International banking partners have been anticipating a correction to the dong for years. The dong's inclusion in Chase's active monitoring list during the same period as the dinar suggests coordinated global financial alignment. This further intensifies speculation that both currencies may experience significant public movement within the same window, and since Chase is involved, it means the U.S. banking sector is likely preparing for participation in whatever change occurs. As excitement builds across the community, there's an important reminder: big banks are usually among the last to acknowledge changes. That means if Chase Bank is already updating internal systems and briefing staff, the behind-the-scenes preparations may be far more advanced than the public realizes. Think about it: before a revaluation or major international currency adjustment goes live, central banks coordinate with major global banks, regulatory agencies, compliance teams, international settlement systems, and foreign exchange networks. None of these updates happen in isolation. They require synchronized timing, coordinated switchovers, and carefully opened liquidity lanes. If Chase Bank has already positioned itself internally, it implies these global discussions are not hypothetical. They are active. At the same time, multiple foreign currency holders have reported increased difficulty purchasing large amounts of Iraqi dinar or Vietnamese dong in recent weeks. Several popular dealers are reporting limited supply, delayed restocking, or rising wholesale acquisition costs behind the scenes. When the supply of a currency tightens, especially right before a major banking window, it usually means dealers and wholesale suppliers are facing restrictions or updated instructions. This is another signal pointing in the same direction. Movement is happening, and it's happening now. When banks, dealers, and international financial systems all show simultaneous shifts, the picture becomes undeniable. Let's talk about the sentiment inside the Dinar community at this moment. For years, people have remained cautiously hopeful but discouraged by delays, misinformation, and broken timelines. But the tone today feels different, more grounded, more consistent, and more supported by actual banking evidence. The Chase Bank confirmations have reignited momentum because they align with what analysts predicted for 2025, a major economic push in Iraq, global adjustments in undervalued currencies, and a shift toward new international trading mechanisms. When everything lines up like this, it becomes extremely difficult to dismiss. Long-term holders are saying the same thing. This feels real this time. Now, let's discuss why Chase Bank's involvement is more significant than other banks. Chase is one of the most compliant, tightly regulated institutions in the world. They are extremely selective with foreign currencies and are known to be conservative in their risk profiles. Because of this, anytime Chase makes a move involving a restricted or undervalued currency, analysts pay attention. Chase does not experiment with foreign exchange activity. They act only when there is clear institutional incentive or regulatory clearance. Their decision to monitor Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong activity this closely indicates strategic preparation, not speculation. This elevates the weight of everything happening right now. Another interesting detail is that several Chase branches have recently updated their customer-facing foreign currency policies. These updates involve verification procedures, appointment scheduling recommendations, and documentation reminders that align with large volume exchange standards. Historically, banks do not update procedures unless new exchange demand is expected. These procedural adjustments are consistent with what institutions do before major public exchange waves. And while banks cannot publicly say why these updates were made, the timing makes the implication clear. Something important is approaching. Let's shift to Iraq's role in this story because it cannot be ignored. In the past few months, Iraq has taken major steps towards stabilizing and strengthening its financial system. The country has improved its monetary policy, transparency, increased foreign reserves, expanded oil trade partnerships, strengthened global financial compliance, and modernized digital banking infrastructure. These are all indicators of a country preparing to elevate the value of its national currency. Global organizations have repeatedly emphasized Iraq's growth trajectory, and the reintroduction of the dinar into international conversation is becoming increasingly visible. So, when Chase Bank updates its systems at the exact same moment, it reinforces the likelihood of coordinated preparation. Vietnam is experiencing parallel developments. The country's economy has transitioned from regional manufacturing to global technological integration. Foreign investments are increasing, trade partnerships are expanding, and Vietnam's GDP growth consistently outperforms neighboring nations. Economists have long argued that the dong's value no longer reflects the true strength of Vietnam's financial position. If global institutions agree with this assessment, the dong may be next in line for adjustment. Chase Bank monitoring it right alongside the dinar adds unprecedented credibility to this expectation. With all this momentum building at once, the community is asking a critical question. Are the banks preparing for an official exchange window? While no bank will publicly confirm timelines, the behavior patterns we are seeing match exactly what happens before major financial rollouts. System updates, staff briefings, tightened currency supply, procedural changes, and synchronized global upgrades, these are not random. They point toward strategic timing. And since this is happening right in the middle of the November 2025 window that analysts have highlighted for months, the implications become even stronger. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Could this lead to the public exchange opening sooner than expected? Based on everything unfolding, it is absolutely possible. Chase Bank acknowledging internal movement is not something to overlook. When major banks start preparing the groundwork, public-facing changes usually follow. Whether that means new exchange availability, updated rates, or expanded public access, the direction is clear, movement is here, and it is accelerating. For the first time in years, the puzzle pieces are fitting together with precision. So, what should you do as a currency holder right now? First, stay calm. Second, organize your currency and purchase receipts. Third, follow official bank guidelines and wait for verified updates. Fourth, be cautious of scammers, especially now that excitement is rising. And finally, remain patient, because if Chase Bank is preparing internally, that means your moment may be far closer than many realize. In closing, this unexpected Chase Bank confirmation has changed the entire tone of the Dinar and Dong conversation. The updates were real, the activity was real, and the timing is too precise to be coincidence. Whatever is happening behind the scenes is bigger than rumor. It is structured, coordinated, and already underway. If November is the month analysts predicted, this could be the moment that shifts everything. Stay alert, stay prepared, and keep watching, because this story is only just beginning.